Some people didn't stop being children because they wanted to. They stopped because someone had to hold the world together, and they happened to be the only one awake. You can see it in their eyes, not the sparkle of play, but the alertness of someone who's learned to watch for change before it happens. For some, childhood ends not with birthdays, but with responsibility. The day they cleaned the mess they didn't make. They didn't choose strength, it was assigned to them, like homework they never finished, only carried into adulthood. People praised them for being mature, never noticing it was survival dressed as wisdom. Inside, that child built a small room for their feelings, locked, quiet, safe from noise, but also from comfort. When they laughed, it was careful. When they cried, it was hidden. When they loved, it was quiet. Growing up too early isn't about time, it's about silence. The kind that teaches you to smile instead of speak. You learn early that quiet keeps you safe, that softness is dangerous, and that safety must be earned. Years later, that pattern becomes your personality. You call it calm, but it's just the absence of permission to feel. You start to confuse peace with control and rest with danger. Stillness feels suspicious, so you keep moving, keep fixing, keep holding things that were never yours to hold. The world claps for your composure, unaware of the trembling beneath it. And somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispers, "Can I rest now?" Survival can look graceful when you've practiced it long enough. You smile while your hands shake just out of frame. People call you reliable, but they don't see the exhaustion hidden beneath your calm tone. You learned to earn peace by fixing others, not realizing peace was never meant to be earned. Control became your language of love. If you could just keep everything steady, maybe no one would leave. But calm built on fear is not peace. It's silence pretending to be safety.
You learned to measure your worth in usefulness and your safety in other people's moods. Every smile you give feels like a promise. I'll keep things safe, even if it costs me. You didn't mean to become the caretaker. You just filled the silence no one else could bear. In that silence, your nervous system built a new rule. Stay small, stay good, stay needed. And when people praised your maturity, you mistook fear for strength and tension for grace. The applause felt warm, but also lonely. Every "you're so strong" echoed like an empty hallway. You didn't outgrow childhood. It just froze inside you, waiting for permission to thaw. That frozen part isn't weak. It's the child who never stopped hoping someone would understand. Sometimes healing begins not with courage, but with exhaustion. The moment you can't pretend anymore. That's the quiet breaking point, where survival starts to soften into truth. Because strength was never the goal. It was just the only language you had to survive. When you spend years keeping everything from falling apart, you forget what it feels like to just let things be. You become the glue for everyone else, even when you're crumbling yourself. People admire how composed you are, never realizing composure can be a kind of armor. You hold so tightly to peace that you squeeze the life out of it. Your body stays alert, your mind scans every silence for danger that no longer exists. Rest feels suspicious. Joy feels temporary. Even silence feels like the start of something breaking. You start confusing exhaustion with peace and numbness with strength. Every compliment feels like pressure, one more reason you can't fall apart.
You hold your breath in conversations, scanning for tones that might turn sharp. You laugh at the right times, say the right words, and go home feeling strangely hollow. There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't show, the one that comes from being everyone's anchor. Everyone leans on you, but you have no one to lean back on. You tell yourself, "I'm fine," because falling apart feels like betraying the role you were given. You promise to keep it together, not realizing you've been breaking in quiet ways for years. That's the cost of always holding it together. You forget what softness feels like. And one day, when the noise finally stops, you realize how loud your silence has become. That silence isn't peace, it's fatigue wearing a mask. And the hardest part of healing is admitting how tired you truly are. Because the child who grew up too fast still believes rest must be earned. But healing starts the moment you rest, not because you've earned it, but because you deserve it. Somewhere inside every adult who grew up too fast, there's a small child still waiting to be seen. They're the one who never got to rest, who smiled when it hurt, who made others feel safe even when they weren't. That child learned to read emotions before they could read words. They became fluent in moods, fluent in silence, fluent in pretending. You might not remember when you lost your playfulness, only that one day it went quiet. You were praised for being responsible, not realizing you were trading joy for survival. You grew into someone everyone could rely on, except yourself. You learned that love had rules. Be useful, be quiet, don't need too much. But the rules were built on fear, not love. And fear has a way of staying long after the danger is gone. That's why stillness feels unsafe. Your body remembers noise as comfort. You can't relax because your nervous system still thinks calm is the warning before the storm. It's not weakness, it's memory. Your body's way of saying, "We've been here before." The child inside you never stopped trying to earn peace. They just changed methods. Maybe that's why you're drawn to people who need saving. It feels familiar. It's the same story, you healing others hoping someone might finally do the same for you. But no one can give you what you won't allow yourself to need. The forgotten child inside isn't gone, just waiting for you to notice. They don't need fixing, they just need you to stay. Healing begins when you stop managing that child and start listening to them. Because sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is sit beside your own pain and not run. Healing isn't about becoming stronger. It's about feeling safe enough to be gentle. Safety isn't the absence of danger, it's the presence of trust. For those who grew up on alert, safety feels unfamiliar, like learning a new language without words. Your body might tremble at rest, not from fear, but from finally letting go. Stillness used to mean danger. Now it begins to mean peace. You learn that peace isn't earned by control, it's allowed by surrender. Your mind starts trusting quiet moments again, realizing not every silence hides a storm. Slowly, you stop scanning for danger and start noticing beauty. You realize the world was never against you, your fear just painted it that way. You start breathing like it's safe again, deep, full, unhurried. Rest stops feeling like guilt and starts feeling like home. Your nervous system begins to unlearn the constant alarm, one sigh at a time. You no longer chase safety, you build it, gently, inside yourself. The voice inside that once said, "Stay alert," now whispers, "You can rest." That's how healing begins. Not loud, not heroic, but quiet and kind. It doesn't erase what happened, it simply teaches your body that it's over. And for the first time, peace doesn't feel borrowed, it feels like yours. You realize you've been safe for a while now, you just didn't know how to feel it. That's the quiet miracle of healing, when calm stops feeling foreign and starts feeling like home. Because safety isn't something you find, it's something you remember. After years of surviving, joy can feel suspicious, like laughter borrowed from someone else's life. You start to notice how joy hides in small things: the smell of rain, the warmth of morning tea. At first it feels strange how softness can exist without consequence. Then slowly your body remembers. This is what safety feels like. You start to laugh without rehearsing, to rest without guilt, to exist without apology. You realize you don't need to earn joy, you just have to stop running from it. Joy was never gone. It was just waiting for your nervous system to calm enough to notice it. You let sunlight sit on your skin without flinching. You start trusting warmth again. You start to play again, not because it fixes anything, but because it feels good to be alive. The child inside you doesn't need perfection. They just want to see you laugh again. You start forgiving yourself for the years you couldn't enjoy anything. Forgiveness feels like sunlight through cracks, quiet, steady, unstoppable. You begin to see beauty where pain used to live. Even your tears feel different now, not heavy, but cleansing. You start realizing joy was never lost. It was waiting for space beneath all that survival. You start to believe that maybe, just maybe, happiness isn't a reward, it's a right. Joy isn't the absence of pain, it's the proof you survived it. And that realization that you're still capable of joy is where freedom begins. Because joy isn't childish, it's what makes us human again. Joy is the body's way of saying, we made it. For so long, strength meant holding it all together. But real strength is learning when to let go. It's the courage to say, I can't do this alone anymore. Asking for help doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. You start realizing that strength isn't silence, it's honesty. Strength is the tear that finally falls, the voice that finally speaks. It's in saying, I'm tired, before you collapse. It's in crying without apology, resting without guilt, feeling without shame. True strength doesn't roar, it whispers. I'm still here. You realize you've always been strong. You just defined it wrong. Strength isn't control, it's trust. It's not standing tall all the time, it's knowing when to lean. It's the quiet grace of saying, I need help, without shame. It's realizing you don't have to earn belonging. You already belong. You don't have to be invincible to be worthy of love. The more you allow yourself to need, the more life can give. Strength isn't perfection, it's presence. It's the steady hand that chooses kindness again and again. That's the new definition of strong. Soft, open, still standing. And in that softness, you find the strength you were searching for all along. Healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the pain. You start to meet yourself in the places you once avoided. You sit with the memories, not to relive them, but to release them. You stop judging the parts of you that had to survive. You thank them for getting you here, even if their methods were messy. That's compassion, not fixing, not erasing, but understanding. You begin to realize that every part of you was just trying to protect something tender. Even the overthinker, the perfectionist, the people's pleaser. They were all guardians once. You stop fighting yourself and start befriending the voices inside. You realize you can love the part of you that's still scared and still be whole. Integration isn't about perfection. It's about inclusion. You can be healing and hurting at the same time. Both can be true. The more you allow contradiction, the more peace finds you. You stop needing to fix yourself and start learning to care for yourself. You realize healing isn't a destination. It's a daily act of kindness toward yourself. Every gentle choice rebuilds the trust you lost with yourself. That's how the protector and the child finally meet, not in struggle, but in grace. And for the first time,
You realize you've never been broken, only separated. You were whole all along, you just forgot what that felt like. And remembering that wholeness, that's what freedom feels like. Healing doesn't erase the past, it changes the way you carry it. The memories don't disappear, they simply stop hurting. The child who once had to grow up too soon now finally gets to just be. You no longer measure worth by what you do, but by how you live. You no longer chase peace, you become it. You no longer fear stillness, it feels like coming home. You no longer need to prove your strength, your softness speaks for itself. You no longer look for rescue, you've learned to show up for yourself. That's what growth really is, not becoming tougher, but becoming true. Because healing was never about perfection, it was about presence. And presence is love in its simplest form. The world may never know the weight you carried, but you do. And knowing that, with gentleness instead of shame, is what makes you whole. Healing doesn't mean the storm never happened. It means you're no longer living inside it. The child who grew up too fast can finally rest. They're not waiting for anyone anymore, because you finally came. That's what healing really is, when you stop running and start returning. Not to who you were forced to be, but to who you always were. You don't need to be fixed, you just needed to be found. And now, you're home, not in a place, but in yourself.